Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 177, Rock'em Sock'em Zobots, recorded on Friday, December 17th, 2021 from Zenatta Consulting. I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the show.
Yes, we shall. We're going to start with our announcements. If you haven't yet, you must head over to Zenatta.com/Zenmys, Zenmys, and vote for your favorite Zoho applications, plugins, and telephony solutions. So please do that. We're going to be doing the big show next week on December 22nd at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Buckle in, block off an hour or so because we've got a whole lot to cover. We've got a meeting later today to try to tighten up the dock a little bit. There were just a lot of stuff happened this year, Tyler, and it's going to see how good we are to cover all of that in an hour and a half. I don't know if you throw the Zenmys in there and our wish lists. This could be the longest show we've ever done in history. I don't know.
A lot to get through, that's for sure.
There is a whole lot to get through. All righty then. So also, if you want to know about any events that are going on, please head over to Zenatta.com events. And this is where we put all of the events that not only we're doing, but Zoho's doing and other partners are doing. And it's the place to kind of find out what's going on. And maybe you'll find an event that is of interest to you. And with that, let us get right on into the news now. Zoho has done a roundup of their CRM 2021 winter update. This is kind of new for them, the winter release. I don't know it seems like it's just a constant release. I didn't feel like there was a whole bunch of stuff dumped on us.
Is it seasonal or is it just an ongoing deluge of updates?
I know, and they're a little ahead of time because we've got 4 days to winter, right? Mm-hmm. And what if you're down in like South America, Brazil, Australia? You know, that's not winter; it's the summer release. So I don't know. We gotta. So I imagine down there, December 21st is the first day of summer, right? Is that how it works?
Yeah, I've got no idea, to be honest with you.
I think we got some people from Brazil in the chat room. You got to enlighten us there, I'm pretty sure. So anyway, it's the winter release, but enough of that. What's going on with it? Client-side scripting. We love this.
Yep. So this has actually been around for a little while now. Basically, a way to run some JavaScript within your own browser as you're interacting with the CRM. It looks like here they're also kind of teasing running these on the list view, color coding different list objects and things like that. So it's definitely been a step up for the CRM to be able to run those types of actions.
Yeah. If you don't know about this is basically something that just runs locally. So let's say you wanted to spin up a new deal and you wanted to pull a bunch of information in. Well, normally, if you were to spin that up, it wouldn't be till you saved the deal onto the creation of that deal, it would actually pull all that information in. So what this does is it basically can do it on the client side. So when you open the deal, it's going to pull all that information in and format the deal for you. So client-side scripting has been a big deal. And then they're really improving their omni-channel communication. This is cool. I'm noticing a whole bunch of little things on this integration. So if I'm actually on a Ring Central phone call and you guys go try to find me in Cliq, it basically will tell you that I'm on a Ring Central call. And these cross integrations, they've just been great. So good stuff there. Emails, I think we covered all this. They've completely, I think I even did a tutorial on this. They've completely revamped how you can set up your emails and do all of that stuff, which is great as well. And then they've also managed how,
and this is a huge one, giving administrators the ability to edit their users' email settings. So you can make someone's public if they've set up their initial IMAP but haven't set up each of the settings right. And you can even default them based on user role and profile, which for larger organizations, managing and making sure that everyone's got their email integrated is a huge pain. So that was a really nice release that they did.
Yep. And then, I don't know, this was a month, half ago or so, it seems like, where you can now connect multiple telephony vendors into your CRM. So, the example they're using here is maybe, you've got Ring Central for your sales team and Amazon Connect for your fulfillment team, that kind of thing. So you can have different telephony providers installed, which is pretty cool. They also, this is interesting, you can kick off your call strategy with built-in telephony. They're saying they're rolling this out This does not appear to be Zoho Voice. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know what it is. We're going to have to get back. Do you know what this is?
I've not seen that one. That's new.
No. Now they do say that this is being opened up in phases. So I guess, and we get everything.
One would have to imagine that that's running on voice, just integrated to the CRM through their UI.
Yeah, but they're calling it Zoho Telephony. This is what Zoho does.
They call a lot of things Zoho Telephony, Brett.
So I don't know. It's got the whole thing with the credits. It looks an awful lot like Zoho Voice, right? Mm-hmm. By the way, that's on our maybe list, and I had someone the other day that went ahead and got it, and I said, let's think about that. It's getting there. I think it needs to percolate for another year or so. That would be my thing on Zoho Voice.
Let's need to discount it by about 50% of what it's charged out right now.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I know Zoho will be mad at us for saying that, but anyway, they've just get, calls and conversations, just so much. You can take a look at the article. We've covered all of these things in the past, but they've just done a whole lot.
There is one last one here that I do want to highlight because there are too many here to go through all in detail, but this is one that to any partners listening, we have been begging for a long time. And if you're kind of a super user at your company who's set up a lot of workflows, you'll probably be happy to hear this. They're now logging a list of workflows that have failed, as well as why they have failed, and are allowing reruns on those workflows. That's a huge one. You might make a small edit to a function and you realize there's this edge case where 5% of records are going to fail. One of the big problems previously is that you'd have to get pretty creative with a report to kind of extract those records that should have had an action taken but didn't, and go in and simulate the action on all of them. Now, if those workflows were to fail, they're just going to go into a list. You can make the relevant edit to a function and then rerun the function on those records. That is just a massive, massive, massive quality of life improvement for anyone who's using workflows heavily, just because those things are so important. And one workflow might do 2 or 3 different things, right? Update a field, make a task, and send an email. So if you have a failure, going in and redoing each of those things can really take a lot of time.
Yeah, this is huge. This just launched. They're showing here November 21st, but
but it's coming out in phases. That's not in everyone's account yet. The workflow logging.
I know, but it's nice. Nice. Anyway, awesome. Yes, we could go. There's some trying to see if there were any big highlights here that I think we got all of these, but take a look at the article. There's just so much that has been added over the last, they're saying winter release, but this is new, this forecasting system. I don't know if I've seen this, the new revamped forecasting system. Have you seen this?
No, a lot of times I know they've been working on that kind of territory-based forecasting. Oftentimes we find ourselves doing that within Zoho Analytics. But if you are a CRM-only user, you might find some value there. Yeah,
this is a slick little change to the interface, I have to say. So it looks pretty good. Some new bar graphs. It's just, there is a lot here going on. I'm trying to say the color-coded meetings and calendars that came out along with their big color thing that they've been doing lately. Yes. So anything else jumping out at you here, Tyler, as I scroll through?
I think most of the rest of these at the bottom here, we've already covered. They kind of did a lot of their actual new stuff up at the top, and the rest is your roll up.
Yep. Pretty nice. So anyway, the team keeps chugging along. CRM gets better and better, and nice job, Zoho CRM team. And moving right along, Zoho Desk has guided conversations early access. So Tyler, help me out with this. This looks like what we're seeing in SalesIQ.
It does look a lot like that when you look at the visual builder.
And SalesIQ is really how you handle chat inside Desk.
I have a lot of the similar points of confusion on this, but what it actually is doing is very, very cool. So how we'll go about implementing it gets a little bit confusing, because you might have a Zobot that's trying to do some capture and sales qualification. And then you have this guided conversation tool, which is more about like product support and customer support. What I would think is you would probably control each of them based on what page someone is on. So if they're on a support page, then you'd serve up the guided support tab or guided conversation. Whereas if they were on a pricing page, maybe you'd serve up a Zobot. In essence, the idea here is to build a set of steps and guided responses that someone can come in and say, hey, I have a problem with a product. Now you surface a list of products. They say it's with this one, right? And then you're saying, what is your issue? And it's basically a way to like guide people through some of the initial capture that you would want to make on a ticket. So if you're a product company, you would want to know who has the problem, what product is it about, a description of the problem, how severe is it? And in some cases, this bot might be able to resolve that issue, right? Guide them to a page that tells them how to reset their password or how to, trigger a reset on their product. And then in other cases, you would forward it to a ticket, but you would just have a ticket that comes in with a lot more information than normal. So it's a pretty slick little tool. I could see it pretty big for people that are doing product support. You're kind of able to serve those up in a chat interface and let people, kind of tell you what their problem is before you have to communicate with them directly.
And so my confusion, you think, is you'll still have SalesIQ and you'll have the bots over in SalesIQ, and you might be serving those up on a page, but then this is going to be a whole different builder for desks.
Yeah, I would think the main place that you would serve this up would be like in your knowledge base or help center, right? Yeah. So like that's probably what most people would end up doing, right? Is that on your support.zenatta page that you've got your knowledge base and your ticket request form, you might serve this up. And then on other pages on your site, you might have a Zobot that's a little more sales focused.
Got it. So I'm noticing here, I was playing a YouTube video of what was going on, and now we're live. That's what they're serving up to us here. We need to coordinate. You look like a suit and tie guy there, and I'm just like Mr. Chill Joe. I don't know what's going on. We're gonna have to do something with that picture, but anyway, looks good. All right. Let us move on with the news. Desk adds a multilingual feature. So you've got your Zoho Desk knowledge base, and now you can run it through Google Translate or Unbabble, and they're supporting up to, 40 languages?
Yep.
It's kind of nice.
Very, very nice. Yeah, nice to not have to do this yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to get you there. If you've ever used Google Translate, it's good enough. You can at least understand what's going on, right? So be curious to see with some highly technical things how it works. But
that's very true. Yeah, if you're working on machining and things like that with a lot of industry specific terms, it might be a little tricky. But even then, if you did a translation through this and then it saved you 80% of the cost of hiring a translator to rewrite it for you, it'd still be a pretty nice savings. Hand someone something to clean up rather than rewrite. Pretty cool.
All right. And moving right along here, Zoho Cliq now has Carplay support. So this is interesting to me because I use Carplay. It's in my Jeep. And when you guys call me on Cliq, it has been working because Apple treats Cliq the way they've written it, like it's a phone call.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
So that'll still come up. But it wouldn't play messages. Those things don't work. So what they're doing now is they're actually putting an app on the CarPlay menu. You've got to click, and you can click through, and you can listen to your new messages. So it's going to be super nice and place a call directly from Cliq. So
you can dictate a message too.
Yep,
it looks like that's really nice.
Yeah, I'm really stoked about this. It's going to make my life a lot easier. Especially because, oftentimes it's the calls come through, but the chats don't. This is just going to be just like text messages now, right? Just have it play them to you. If anybody uses CarPlay, it's great. When you get a new text message, it comes up, it reads it to you. You can respond to it. You can do the whole thing. So this is going to be pretty
nice. Looks like Josh is saying this has actually maybe been working for about a week now. So they silently turned this on, and now are announcing it.
Yeah. Nice. Super nice. I'm happy about that update all the way around. All right. And then I love this article. The 10 most installed third-party integrations for Zoho in 2021. WhatsApp Web for Zoho CRM. We don't get much use for that in North America. WhatsApp's just not that big a thing in North America. But I can see, but in the rest of the world, that's it. Whenever I go down to Mexico, everybody's on WhatsApp, right? Yep. That's all they use. You go over to Europe. I mean, because they're basically breaking out of being locked into one messaging service at a time, and so it's all cross-platform. So this is pretty sweet. I like it. And then SMS Magic, that doesn't surprise me too much. Great one. Giphy for Zoho Show.
That one does surprise me a little bit. In the top 10, that is number 3 in the most installed. I wonder if it's installed by default. Because that is suspiciously large or suspiciously high up in this list.
Well, this year they rolled out Giphy for virtually all the Office applications. Maybe not for Sheets, right? Maybe they did there too. But I know it's in Show and I know it's in Writer. They rolled it out in the social media application, right? Zoho Social. When you're doing a post, you can pull in Giphy. But I thought they were built in. I didn't know it was extension.
Yeah, I guess it's technically a plugin. Interesting though. I mean, we've got 2 here in the top 5 that are from Zoho Show. So maybe that application is just more widely used than I would have anticipated.
Well, and Unsplash is pretty much the same as Giphy, isn't it? It's just
for images.
Library.
Yeah, for like high res. It's a great service. You can get a ton of free high quality images from there.
Google Drive for Zoho projects does not surprise me at all. Number 6, MailChimp for Zoho CRM. Just how many people gave up on marketing automation or the fact that campaigns didn't have a real sync. I will tell everybody who's a MailChimp user now, Zoho Campaigns has a real sync. So that's good. Now, did they turn that off for a few days or something? Did I see something about that?
Yeah, it seems like they might be having some issues. So they've turned off the ability to roll your account over, but I'm sure they're working on that on high priority now to get it fixed. So
existing accounts are okay?
I believe so.
Okay, good.
Not totally clear.
Yeah. And number 7 is our favorite SMS app, Smooth Messenger by Jeremy Nagel over there. It used to be from Deluge on a Luge company, but I think he's renamed his company Smooth
Ethical Technology, I think, is the company name now.
I thought it was Smooth something. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he's renamed it again. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that one ever overtakes SMS Magic and SMS Magic has a great plugin, works like a charm. It's not an issue, but they effectively do the same thing, but Smooth Messenger is just prettier all the way around.
I think so. Although SMS Magic, I mean, I get their updates. They're on a binge too. And I think they were there first. So I think, a lot of people have been using them. So that's it. Google Calendar for Zoho projects, another great integration. So it's interesting. We got 2 Google Calendars. Is that correct? No, Google Drive for Zoho projects and Google Calendar for projects. So all of the new Google integrations that got turned on projects. YouTube for Zoho Show. This was a must-have. This is definitely want to install that. And then at number 10, Shopify for Zoho CRM. Okay, Zoho, if that's the number 10, let's get to working on that a little bit because it's written by Zoho. It could use a little work.
Well, actually, that one, more of the hiccups we run into is with the inventory. The Shopify integration for the CRM actually works perfect because it doesn't rely on creating all your products inside of Shopify. It just looks them up on SKU. So that one actually, generally speaking, works like a charm.
Nice. All righty. I think we've covered that. Let us move on with the news. A little PSA here. Zoho has a planned annual maintenance on the U.S. data center from December 25th to January 1st. Kind of weird time that they're doing it, though.
Well, so it's two sessions. One is on the 25th from 6:30 to 9:30 Pacific. And then a second session is on January 1st from 6:30 to 9:30 Pacific. So, I mean, realistically, shouldn't really affect any US work hours here. Doing it after end of business Pacific time on these 2 dates, I think is about as good as it can get for planned maintenance.
And they're saying even during maintenance, everything should still work. But I would imagine most people will not be working on those 2 days.
Hopefully.
At that time. You never know.
Hopefully.
If you do, maybe you just need to look inside a little bit and decide if you're a workaholic or not, All righty. And then moving on with yet more Zoho news. I don't know, Tyler, you can take these. So Control added email templates and Control has added a lookup to relational fields. If you are interested in implementing Control, we don't know anything about it, but
so Control is Control's formerly Orkestly. And it's basically a workflow management tool between various different applications. Not too long ago, I think earlier this year, they spun it up as its own brand. So it's no longer included with Zoho One. And I don't know if we have ever touched it. It's one of those tools that it, conceptually makes sense. You've got these different systems. You want to have a centralized place for approvals and workflows. But from our experience, it just never seems to come up as something that people really, really need.
No.
But now if you are using it, they have added email templates. Seems like one of those need to have things if you're going to send any emails through an automated tool. It's definitely not going to hurt to have those.
Got that. And then the iOS app now supports lookup and relation fields. So taking control to the next level, if you're going to use control on your iOS app, it's supporting things that are native to the regular control app.
Very nice.
I don't know, Tyler. We always talk every time a control story comes up. We say, but you're right. We've never really seen a big need for it.
Yeah, I mean, there are conceptual cases where it would make sense that you might use it. So, like, let's say you had a senior level employee who had to approve things sometimes inside of CRM, sometimes inside of books, and sometimes inside of Zoho Sign. Right. And maybe you wanted to give them one application to do any of those approvals. So you're like routing your whole workflow through control so that they only have to go to that one place. There are use cases for it. It's just honestly, we've never really needed them, right, for any of the build outs that we've done.
Right. All right. That's enough control for the rest of the year.
And next year, probably.
Yeah. So Zoho WorkDrive TrueSync has been updated. It now supports searching files and folders from within the TrueSync app on your computer, which is a big, big, big upgrade. It appears that you need to download the latest. So I guess it's not updating. So I'm going to kill the old. I love this TrueSync app. It does two things, you guys. It can, if you want to, you can say, look, I just want the files. I want to have a folder I can look at and the files are there, but the files really aren't there. The files are just in the cloud. They're just represented by file names. But you can say, hey, these folders, I want you actually to sync them to my desktop or to my laptop. I want to have them with me at all times. Not that it's needed, but I actually have a local 4 terabyte hard drive that is synced with TrueSync, and it's 100% sync. So every single thing that's living in the cloud, I've also got a backup of it here. You can use it for those purposes. But for most people, they just don't want to take up all that space. And this kind of gives you that ability to do it. And now you can search them from within the app, which is pretty nice.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's much more we can say about that, is there?
I think you got it.
Yeah. And we're not done. We got some roundups. So Zoho Workplace, they put out their November roundup of everything that happened inside of Zoho Workplace. New automation templates, live whiteboard and Cliq. We like that. That was a big one.
Yep.
The notes thing. So we've covered all these. It's just a roundup. If you think you missed any of these, then go ahead and look at this overall update. But we've talked about these. I can't believe these all happened in November. It's crazy. There was a lot. Cliq keeps rolling along, man. And then we always like to highlight the Zoho People newsletter. They do a really good job here. So the Zoho People newsletter dropped for December, and it's over in the community, and you can take a look at the Zoho People newsletter. Again, everything we've kind of talked about. They got some nice articles. They got an upcoming webinar on cultivating a culture of learning with Zoho People's LMS. I imagine that's over in our events catalog. So that's kind of cool. The Zoho LMS, the LMS in People is really good.
Mm-hmm. It really is. And you've got like the ability to schedule sessions and rooms. It's pretty full featured. As with everything in Zoho People, the only downside is that it might have too many features where it can be kind of confusing. But it is a really, really powerful tool.
Yeah, I had someone give me a suggestion the other day. So if you're listening, Zoho people, they wished they had the ability to turn things off and not have them show in the menus, right? Because it's so deep like that. They were like, it'd be great if I could just say, no, don't show any of this stuff. Don't show any of this stuff. I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
Right. And thereby kind of condensing the menu system in Zoho People.
Yeah. It would almost benefit from like a wizard when you get started, because a big point of confusion that we see with a lot of people is I want to track my employees' time. And there's two ways to do it: attendance and timesheets, or time tracking, they call it. And they're different, right? They have different implications in terms of how you report and what type of time it is. But for someone just turning it on and trying to set it up, it's not super clear. So it would be nice if they had some type of widget. Are you planning on doing this? Do you have employees categorized like this? Because it is a really powerful tool, but man, it is just a lot to dig into.
It is. But anyway, nice newsletter. Good job from the people team. Woo. All right, Tyler. And that takes us to this absolutely super cool implementation of the week. What do you got?
Yeah, so this is a really cool one. One of my favorites. It might be implementation of the year. I'm not sure quite yet. But this is a way to choose.
Are we going to choose that for the Zenmies?
I guess we could. I kind of said that offhandedly. Maybe we should.
I think we should go back and take a look at the 52 implementations of the week this year. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. But so this implementation here, it's basically a way to build a custom related list within the CRM. In this case, we did it for an account, so related list on an account. But it's in the case where you want that related list to contain data that's not in the CRM, right? So you want to give people that list, similar to how in an account you'd have a list of contacts and a list of Zoho Finance and a list of tasks. Let's say that you had all of your invoicing over in QuickBooks, right? But you still want to have a nicely formatted, containing links, related list under that account. You can do that with this method. So basically, normally these related lists are constrained only to records that are in the CRM. But for this particular use case, we wanted to pull in QuickBooks Online invoices into each of the CRM accounts. In this case, we actually already had QuickBooks Online syncing over to Zoho Analytics, but technically you don't need to do that for this step. Now, because we already had it in Analytics, we thought, hey, that's an easier API call. We can do some pre-formatting in Analytics and just make the code more, simplified and streamlined. So what the team did is that they pulled some query tables inside of Analytics to get the invoice data kind of trimmed down, name some of the column headers the same as like API names we wanted to use elsewhere, and just kind of cut out some of the steps you'd have to do in Deluge. And then what you can do is actually add a custom related list that on load of an account actually runs a function and displays some type of response from the function. And so when an account loads, basically we make an API call to our table of invoices, filter them based on an account name, and then automatically format them into an XML table with column names and links and all the relevant data, and then just display it as a related list. So it's basically every time you load that account, it's creating and displaying your XML table just within the account to view that data.
Now, are you creating a custom module that you're writing this data to?
Nope. It is just displayed via XML. And within that, like if you wanted to say, hey, invoice number, invoice date, and then click here to go to invoice, you can add columns that are links, and you could link out to like QuickBooks and open up that specific invoice. And none of the data actually needs to live inside of the CRM in a module. So you're not having to like run a daily sync and make all these custom modules, and hopefully they're not getting duplicated because something was changed, and you're doing all this data management to pull it in. Versus this, you pull it into Analytics, or you could absolutely run this without Analytics. You could just make an API call to QuickBooks and pull in the data that way. It's just that we already had it in Analytics, so it made it easier, right? And made it easier to work with. But you could do this really for any data. Like an example that I thought of is that inside of even like the Zoho Finance related list inside of the CRM, I have a customer that it would be really, really nice if they could see the items on a package within that view. And so I could make my own widget, right, that queries books for that account data and pulls back package items as well as packages. So like, and someone chat me if I'm wrong here, but conceptually, if you have API access to the data and a way to filter it to make it unique for that account, you can pull in rows of data from other tables and just display them natively via XML. Now, it's not exactly simple, right, to do it. It takes a little bit of massaging, and the XML has to be in a very specific format that will work with the UI of the CRM. But once you have all of that dialed in, it's just awesome.
Wow. You could just do so much with this. I've seen
Jordan's confirming like you absolutely can, and you can even combine data, right? So you could say pull from this table and this table, join them, and then show that as one row.
You would have to push it up to analytics then, though, right? To do that?
It depends. It depends on the data if it had a link. Because really what you're doing is you're pulling down a big JSON list of data from somewhere and then just transforming it into an XML list with column names and values.
Got it.
Yeah, it's a crazy one. When the team showed me this earlier this week, it was Cody put in the chat a mind blown emoji, and that's about how I was feeling looking at it.
Wow, good stuff, dev team. All right,
very, very good stuff.
Let's move on to this week's read. It's reads this week. I like this article. So this was over on Zapier. And it basically was what to do when your content is stolen. So you write an article, somebody basically just grabs it and steals it. It's just, here's what you can do. Here's your process. You can first contact the owner, then contact the web host. And if it really, really gets bad, call daddy, baby. And by daddy, I mean Google. So, and I guess Google will remove that content for you. You got to go through a little bit of a process there, but I guess that's kind of what it breaks down to at the end of the day. But this is a step-by-step guide. Pretty.
It's nice. Really, really useful. I actually saw not too long ago, some posts by some Zoho partners who are having content stolen. Of like time they had invested making guides or showing some like verticals of, here's some content about a CRM for real estate, and they are just having it lifted. And luckily, I think Zoho is very helpful and receptive and kind of got a lot of that sorted out. But it definitely happens, like you make good content, someone else is going to borrow it eventually.
Yeah. I don't know if it's happened to us because I know we produce probably more content than anybody on this kind of stuff. So it's something to look at. And I'll be talking about that when I talk about our application of the week, because I'm going to tie those two things in together here.
It's professional.
All righty. And then this popped in at, 6:00 last night. It popped into my Google News feed. Sridhar wrote an article for Fast Company that just dropped last night. And I founded India's largest software product company. Here's my 3-point plan for building a lasting brand. So it was a little 5-minute read from Sridhar. And for those of you who don't know, Zoho was founded in 96. It was called AdventNet. I think they changed to Zoho a few years later. They're 25 years old now, and they have never taken a single dime of venture capital, no money. The entire thing's been bootstrapped from the beginning. They've had offers to buy them. The answer is no. They've had companies want to take them public. The answer is no. And it gives them pretty much, I think what he's talking about here, the power of flexibility to do whatever they want to do. And so he's basically, be flexible, stay focused, be nimble, build a strong team from day one. One thing I know about Zoho is, man, if you're an employee at Zoho and you're a good employee, you're an employee for life. Mm-hmm. I mean,
people stay. They treat their team well.
Yeah, but I think they hire well too. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't agree with this more. I think the strength of our company, Tyler, is on the people we've hired. Always hiring good people, and anyway, good there. And then social good is a foundational pillar, and they're very, very involved in that. In basically taking things that are very important to them and making those initiatives part of the company and driving things that way. So anyway, nice little article by Sridhar here, and take a look at the good stuff Zoho is doing. And there you go. Those are our reads of the week. All right. And then now you can talk. We've got an article. This is basically a breakdown of one of the videos you did, but this is the power of bots with Zoho SalesIQ 2.0. And Wayne, over Wayne has basically taken this and turned this into a long article on bots.
Yeah, and almost a good title for this might be Answer Bots versus Zobots, because it can be confusing. With SalesIQ 2.0, they've rolled out 2 new bots, right? And I mean, Zobot technically isn't new, but normal users weren't using it because it was so impossible to code. Even for like talented deluge developers, it was just a real bear. So effectively, for most users, there are 2 completely new bots that are now on the table, with the Answer Bot versus the Zobot. So we did a couple of videos, and now this write-up kind of breaking down why you would use one over the other, kind of what the differences are and what they were designed to do. Both are really good. It's just going to depend on what exactly you're looking for, or what problem the bot is designed to solve for you.
Yeah. So this should be Answer Bots versus Zobots versus Omicron versus Optimus Prime. Do we put all of them in here?
Why not? Bring them into the Thunderdome.
I don't know. Omicron reminds me of a Transformer. I don't know why. But anyway, I wonder who knows what the next variant's name will be. Good stuff, though. All righty. And then moving right along to our pick of the week, and it's Copyscape. So if you harkening back to that article about plagiarism and things you can do, one of them is they talk about various tools that will check these things. And Copyscape, even though they have a website that looks like it was designed this looks like an old Apple template, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. The top bar looks suspiciously like an Apple website, just from the early 2000s.
They haven't spent a lot of time on their website, but their product is highly rated. So basically, you've got a version. It can go out and automatically every time you post an article, or it can go look for your articles, see if there's any copies of it being made. They've got one where you can check manually. They've got Copy Sentry, which is automatically looking for plagiarism. So this is kind of your. It looks like a great app, and it's cheap. It's really, really cheap.
We know they're not spending money on web design, so it makes sense.
But I mean, it's $4.95 a month where they're checking up to 10 pages, and then 25 cents a month for additional pages. So even if you had a couple hundred pages that you wanted to look at, you're not spending a lot, maybe $50 a month. And I doubt if you really care about all your content, right? You'd really just want your big original stuff and see if that's getting copied out there. Your homepage. I think what the partners were complaining about, what you were talking about, is like they write a write-up about their product and service, and then someone just borrows it.
Yeah.
Right, and puts it on there.
And those things not to go down a rabbit hole, but for some of the content that you're making on your site, it could be a big investment of time. Like for those partners who spent the time building and designing some type of vertical solution, and provided a walkthrough to explain the benefit of that on their site and why it might be a good fit, to get that type of content lifted is really damaging. So yeah, services like this pay themselves off if you just catch one or two copycats.
Yeah. All righty. And that is then going to bring us to our tip of the week, which is again on SalesIQ. And this is a tutorial that you did. And I will tell you, while it was being edited, I was told, wow, Tyler really did a great job on this one. So I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, I meant for these to be like 2 10-minute videos on the bots in SalesIQ. They ended up being more like 2 20-minute or so videos on the bots. The first one goes through the answer bot, which is more of a kind of customer service style tool where you're loading in articles and frequently asked questions. And then it's kind of a Wild West scenario where people ask it unstructured questions, and it does some language processing to match up their question with an article or guide. Really cool. I actually had to retake a couple sections in this where I didn't use a lot of descriptive language in the article or the frequently asked question. I was trying to get it to fail to find something, and it kept actually finding them, even though I wasn't giving it much useful info. So it did actually a much better job than I assumed, because I had to work pretty hard to make it fail. So yeah, worth checking out. Pretty easy to set these ones up, much easier than the Zobots. And that'll be over on our YouTube page at youtube.com/Zenatta.
Nice. And as always, if you go to youtube.com/Zenatta, all of our latest stuff is there. And if you're watching this video, you'll notice that we've got we're broadcasting this show live right now. This was our first beta test of that, so we haven't really announced it. It seems to be working fairly well. I've got it up on a screen over here. So we may just be using that. There is a 20-second delay, so the questions will come off when we're halfway through. We're going to have to figure out what we're going to do with that. But the cool thing is if we have our team in there, and which, by the way, a lot of those people that are inside of the live YouTube chat right now, I think we've got 5 or 6 or 7 Zenatta team members over there, and we've got a bunch of them sitting over here. So we're actually having a good chunk of our team join these. So I think they're there to answer a lot of questions. So we'll take a look at what that looks like in a minute. But head on over, let us know. We're on our verge. We're just, about 50 subscribers away from hitting the 3,000 mark, which is going to be fantastic. That should happen in the next 3-4 days, I guess, 5 days. So thank you, everybody, for all of your support over there. And then that brings us to our Q&A. But before I do that, I also want to mention that this week we launched Club Zenatta, which is club.zenatta.com. And if you head over to that, then this is our brand new portal where basically we're building a community. We've been getting people join. We've got forums. We're really just it's just getting going. So if you go in there and you say, wow, there's not a lot of content right now, we're jumping on that. And we're going to be adding much more content in as we go. But we've got a general discussion group. And if you go into the general discussion, we've got sub forums where you can ask questions that you want us to answer on the show. We can discuss Zoho apps. We've got product announcements. We've got people that are joining up, but we've got to, we're going to be ramping up the content in here. But we're pretty happy about that. And I think 56 members. So you take out the 18 Zoho people. So it looks like we've got about 38 people that have signed up, and we really haven't even launched this thing yet. So pretty stoked about that. So head on over to club.zenatta.com, drop some comments in, get some discussions going, and we hope to see you there. And as
one last thing, it is totally free. There's no sign up fee or anything like that. It is free. It's just a community to discuss Zoho stuff with other Zoho nerds.
Yep. And there are some benefits to it too. We're going to have, if you join it, our dev team is posting really useful snippets of Deluge code in there once a week. So you've kind of got this little snippet of Deluge once a week. We'll also be having some special videos that'll drop in there that, they'll be on the YouTube channel, but they'll be hidden. You only can get to them if you're a member of Club Zenatta. And anyway, hopefully you like it, and we'll see what happens there. All right. And that brings us to Q&A. So we'll start with our YouTube questions regarding episode 176, Sridhar and the Furious Zoho Drift. So last episode, Sridhar he's got a new electric car, and we were saying that's really a unique look. And evidently it's not a unique look, because Rashad wants to remind us that we have never heard of an auto rickshaw before. Those things are used like little taxis, except the rides are cheaper. They're almost never used for personal use. They're quite popular in small towns and villages in India. So there you go.
Cool. Learn something new every day.
I still want one. I do. All right. And then another YouTube question. I don't know about this one, Tyler. I left it in because I thought maybe you'd have an answer, but Dwayne wants to know, I noticed a text field on the left side of the check-in clock in Zoho People. If I add info there, where can it be seen in a report? Do we know the answer to this?
I don't know the answer. I'd have to assume it would depend on what it is. If it's like the intent of your check-in or checkout, I would have to assume it'll show up in some type of attendance log. But I will admit we don't work a ton in depth with Zoho People, but I would have to assume it's going to show up on an attendance report for each of your check-ins and checkouts.
I would think so, but we'll take a look at that, and maybe we can pop that one in on the next show as well if we can get an answer for you there, Dwayne. All right. And then Pooja wants to know, how do I get LinkedIn candidates into Zoho Recruit? What you're going to do is you're going to head over to linkmatch.net. Linkmatch.net. It is the place to go for, I think, all things Zoho. Am I still coming through? Because this isn't loading.
Yeah, you're coming through just fine.
Okay. Anyway, linkmatch.net. I went there this morning to double check. And in fact, they do have a plugin. They've always had one for CRM, but they also have one for Recruit. So you can use that. I can't get it to load for some reason. I think linkmatch.net is having trouble. But if you go to linkmatch.net, that is where you can find. It's $9.99 a month. And it does an excellent job. I use it for the CRM every day, multiple times a day. When a lead comes in, you go bring it, pulls in all their information, pulls in their LinkedIn link and their profile and their picture and all of that. It's a great way to add data into the CRM, as well as a great way to add data into Zoho Recruit. All right. And then the next question was from our 2021 CRM full product tutorial. And the gentleman writes, thanks for the great video. I'm using territory management feature, but when my users, which are in different territories, are trying to change a lead or task owner in the dropdown, they can see all of the users in the organization. I want that users in a particular territory can only see users which belong in their territory. Is there any way to achieve this, Tyler?
There is not. It is a common request. I would have to assume it's on Zoho's radar, but if it's not, I'll restate it in case any of them are listening. Basically, the idea here and what they're asking for is a way to set up some type of system rule for filtering which users show up in an owner field. This is a pretty common request, actually, because a territory manager of the North Territory is never going to assign a task to a sales rep of the South Territory. And so having those users show up in their list is just unnecessary. Now, of course, you can always pull up that and start to search, right, for who you want to assign it to. And I would always recommend people type to search rather than scroll in really any interface. But if you are scrolling, it can be a little bit frustrating, especially for larger companies. You know, you could have 20 reps in 4 different territories. And so you've got 80 people in this list, as well as the CEO and the CFO. There's no like exclusion of anybody. So the short answer is always search by name, and that'll get you where you need to go. The long answer is I would have to assume Zoho is aware of it and working on it, but they haven't said anything yet. But you are not alone on this one.
All right, before we close out, let's see if we have anything in the Q&A. We don't there, but the YouTube chat, is there any questions, team, in YouTube that we didn't answer? I saw there was a whole lot of stuff going on here. And then we also had a bunch of stuff in chat. Did all that get answered? Tyler, why don't you look at the Zoom chat and I'll look at the YouTube chat and see if we've got any questions in here.
Yeah, I don't think we had any from the show.
Got some over here. Derek asks, oh, I see. That got answered. Well, I'll do this in a way. Derek asks, how do you switch between templates for estimates in Zoho books? I can set the default, but if I want to choose a different template for each estimate, how do I do that? And then Josh, our VP of operations, actually answered him and said, Derek, when you're sending out an email, you have the option in the top right corner of the email editor to choose from any saved templates. And as many things with Zoho, Derek said, wow, I never thought to look there. And, you know, I can see why. Don't feel bad, Derek. And then it looks like Julia asked, do you have a problem with emails flagged as spam? I heard Zoho's outbound emails come from a pool of rotating IPs, which is shared by everyone. Over time, it's been flagged by spam for a lot of people. Gosh, I don't know. It kind of depends. There's a whole lot of authentication you need to do on the back end. Josh kind of answered that, but you need to make sure your SPF records are dialed in. You need to do your DKIM. And if you want to take it to the next level, do some DMARC. And if you do those 3 things, I find it tends to solve it. Would you agree, Tyler?
Yeah, there are some specific like email security services that seem to have a bone to pick with Zoho that you're going to have more issues with. The big ones would be like Mimecast and SpamCop are 2 particular services that seem extra prickly when it comes to Zoho. But outside of those 2, as long as you've got your SPF and DKIM, you shouldn't see much deliverability difference if you're sending from like campaigns versus MailChimp. And we actually tested that. I think it was like last month, right? We actually tested the MailChimp, or was it Constant Contact?
Yeah.
MailChimp.
And it was the same.
And yeah, we got the exact same open rates and everything on the 2 platforms.
Deliverability and open was the same, but it's set up properly. So I will tell you, there is a trick with SPF records, because you can't, if you have an SPF record in your DNS settings already. You can't add another one.
Mm-hmm.
You need to act, and you can't just take what Zoho gives you and paste it in. You have to basically just kind of add in a little section. So I tell you what, this would be great. Jordan, you're big on this, or if someone wants to do this, let's go into Club Zenatta and paste how you can basically put more than one SPF record together, what a single one looks like, what a multiple one looks like. Because we get
maybe it's a full breakdown on email verification.
Yeah, I think DKIM, you can stack separate messages, or do you have to stack them?
You stack separate ones in your DKIM. The only weird thing with DKIMs is that the instructions that Zoho provides work for every single domain provider except GoDaddy. And for GoDaddy, you actually have to leave a certain section off because they add it themselves. And the answer for that is on a 3-year-old forum post on the GoDaddy sites, where a fantastic gentleman provided that solution. I forget his name, or I would shout it out. But so all of them but GoDaddy, you can follow exactly for the DKIM. But with GoDaddy, you leave your own domain off of your host name.
Oh, it's off the host name at the front.
Yeah, so I have like domain key dot, 12345.domainkey.zenatta. GoDaddy appends your domain automatically. So if you put it yourself, it doubles it up and then it won't work.
So you end up with Zenatta. But do you see that when you save it? Do you see you end up with a double Zenatta? You
No.
don't.
No. It's super confusing. And it's only GoDaddy from what I've found.
Oh, man. All right, we're going to wrap this up. If you have any questions or comments, please head over to zenatta.com and drop us a line.
And on the website is where you'll find complete episodes, as well as show notes with links to all the stories we discussed today. As always, we'd love if you would follow us on your favorite social media platform and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app, as well as on YouTube. We'll see you next Monday.